Morning, everyone. I'm Joy Harris, and this is Cincinnati TV Toastmasters. So, welcome to the Saturday meeting of Cincinnati TV Toastmasters. I'm glad to see everyone here today, and I have just a couple of announcements. So, as a reminder, our April meetings will be the first Thursday of every month, and it's 6 p.m. And normally we're on the third Saturday. Today is just a little unusual, but in April, we will be the third Saturday at 10 a.m. So we love to have guests, and we hope everyone has their calendars marked for the first Thursday and the third Saturday of the month. You can also watch for us on our Cincinnati TV Toastmasters meetup group, and that will give you a reminder of when our meetings are. And often we have special guests as speakers. And so many times you can find us through Eventbrite or even Facebook to know what our agenda or what our topic is. So I am really glad to see everyone here today. And I'm always glad to watch the replays on YouTube, because one of our tenets of our meeting is to watch ourselves grow. It says, watch yourself grow, because you can actually see how well you did. And the history of our club is that we used to publicize on cable TV. We used to meet in a cable studio, and we could watch ourselves grow by seeing it on cable TV. And then during the pandemic, when the TV closed, we are now a 100% virtual club. So we welcome people from all over the country and indeed all over the world. We've had guests, international guests. Are there any other announcements before I turn it over to the Toastmaster? All right, all right. Our Toastmaster for the day is Ron Keim, and I am so pleased to turn the meeting over to Ron. So, Ron Keim.
Thank you, Joy. Welcome everybody, and welcome Elizabeth. Are you a member of a club, or somebody invite you, or how did you get to know about us?
Janet invited me. I am a member of another club.
Oh, okay, very good. Nice to have you today. Usually when I'm Toastmaster or even Table Topics Master, I like to pick a theme for the meeting. And just because it happens to be National Puppy Day, I chose puppies as our theme. So there's a few little tidbits I think I'd like to bring up on puppies. And one of them is, the reason I love my dog so much is because when I come home, it's the only one in the world who treats me like I'm one of the Beatles. Dogs have no money. Isn't that amazing? They're broke their entire lives, but they get through. Do you know why dogs have no money? No pockets. And then last one for now. Why did the poor dog chase his own tail? He was trying to make both ends meet. A little bit of puns there. I will now call up our agenda and just mention the participants today. Let me do my share screen. Okay. Joy, as usual, is our presiding officer as president of the club. I am the Toastmaster, and I'm also the timer for today. And for timing, I will be using some green, red, and yellow lights behind me. I'll turn on the green light when a person is at the minimum amount of time for their, say if it's a speech that's 5 to 7 minutes, at 5 minutes, I'll turn on the green light. At in the 6-minute mark, I'll turn on the yellow light, and at the 7 mark, I will turn on the red light, and the person has 30 seconds to wrap up and still be within legal limits. And that will apply throughout the speeches, where they're broken into 3 segments like that, depending on what their time is. We've got a 5 to 7 minute, we've got a 10 to 20 minute, a 10 to 12 minute speech. So it will be 10, 11, and 12 where the lights would go there. So that's how my timing will work. Our grammarian counter is Janet. Janet, do you want to explain a little bit about what you'll be doing?
Sure, Mr. Toastmaster. I am the grammarian, so I will be looking for things like filler words and but, so, kind of. I will also be looking for special uses of the English language, so unique words that people say. And I also count the word of the day. Do you want me to explain the word of the day?
Sure, may as well. You're
Okay. Since it was National Puppy Day, the word I chose is rambunctious. And rambunctious is uncontrollably exuberant, boisterous. Another similar word I saw is rollicking. These are both adjectives. Rollicking is exuberantly lively and amusing. And I think puppies can be tagged as rambunctious or rollicking. I will try to put the words in the chat. For some reason, I'm not able to do so right at the moment because it gets your screen sharing.
oh, okay. I'll be done with that in a minute.
All right, thank you.
Then our table topics master on the sheet, it says it's Veronica, but Joe Swirling will be doing table topics. We have, and I think everybody's aware with that of what table topics is, especially since we've all been part of a club. So I'm not going to have Joe explain that. Then we have two speakers. We have Veronica as a speaker, and we have Bobby Joy Harris as a speaker. So we look forward to hearing what their topics are going to be about. And our evaluators are Janet for evaluator 2, David Ash is evaluator 1. So when it comes time for the speeches, I will call on them to introduce our speakers. Then toward the end of the meeting, we'll have our various reports, the word counter report, the timer report, general evaluator. I will turn it over to that person when we get started in the evaluation portion of the meeting. And she will also have a report toward the end. And that should cover our agenda. Anybody have any questions on the agenda? Okay. Take care of that. See if you can put those words of the day on the, without getting overly rambunctious, put them on the chat room. Okay, we usually start with our table topics before we get into the speeches. So Dave, with you being the table topic master,
Sure.
Go ahead and do your thing.
Joe. Well, let's see. Am I?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, wasn't sure. Well, glad to see your smiling faces. Almost as good as looking at a bunch of rambunctious puppies. First of all, just a little side note. While today is the day of puppies, I encourage people to keep in mind that tomorrow is a special day, of which there are a limited number to come while we're all alive. Tomorrow will be the day of the month, where the month or the year, the day of the month is the same as the year. That's only going to happen what is it, 9 more times this year, and then for about 8 years, and then it'll go like 80 years before you come around where the year and the month are going to be the same. So treasure all those days that this year is the 24th of each month. Anyway, as I was asked to take on being Table Topics Master, my first thought was I've got a whole bunch of Table Topics cards around here that I just found and opened up a week or so ago. And then all of a sudden I realized they're not on this conglomeration of stuff I've got all over my table. But then with the theme of puppies, I can't think of anything better than our personal stories about puppies. So basically, I'll be letting everybody elaborate on their favorite puppy stories, if they have them, or could be other pets, whatever's most, particularly with the puppies. And with the word of the day, nothing could have been better than all these rambunctious, boisterous, rollicking. I have not been fortunate enough to have a puppy of my own in my life. My twin sister had a puppy for a number of years when we were in our teenagers. And throughout her life, she had multiples of puppies and cats and everything else. Her favorite one was a dog named Boo, and it was the most peaceful thing and loving that she adopted from a shelter. My daily experiences on puppies, I live on a corner of a street where the dog park is at the end, the city park, and with a dog park at the end of that. So I've got hundreds of dogs coming up and down the street all week in cars, walking, sometimes being carried or little strollers. And everyone is unique. You got all these classic breeds. Sometimes they're contoured up like poodles and things, so fancy, and others the coloring and everything, and they're also rambunctious and boisterous and everything. I try to ask their names, but I forget them as soon as I hear them anyway. But anyway, I'll just go on a volunteer basis to whoever wants to start first, because they can't wait because their boisterous puppies are waiting to say something. So who would like to go first?
I'll go.
Oh, okay, Ron, thank you.
When I was in the Air Force, I've had dogs most of my life. The last number of years, not so much. But when I was in the Air Force, stationed in North Carolina, a friend of mine and I lived in a trailer park and shared the trailer. And I had gotten a dog that we named Princess. Well, one day we caught Princess and another dog doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. And my dog ended up having puppies. And I'd never heard of a dog having as many puppies as what she had. She had the puppies under my bed in my bedroom. And one of the guys, after about the fourth puppy, one of the guys called the radio station. Whoops, I forgot to start my timer here. Called the radio station and told them this dog's having puppies and it's up to number 4, now number 5, now number 6, now number 7, now number 8. She ended up having 11 pups. And I don't know if that's a record or not, but it was an interesting time watching all these puppies being born and how she took care of them. She did a very good job of taking care of all 11 puppies until we gave them away. We didn't charge anything for them. She was just a mongrel, no special breed. And to me, those are the best dogs to have. They all seem to have such a good, not overly rambunctious, but a good demeanor and mind well. So most of the dogs I've had were mongrels. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster, Table Topics Master.
Okay, thank you very much, Ron. And who would like to go next? Hold up your hand, or okay, Janet. Okay, and I'll get David afterwards. You're muted. Can't hear anything.
I think she's saying 1 minute.
Oh, sorry.
Do you want David to go next?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. So I will just be brief and talk about a couple of my experiences with puppies. I have not had a chance to have a puppy for quite a number of years. I had cats at one point, and so that was multiply a different experience because, firstly, cats are obviously a different story than dogs, and I also acquired the cats as young adult cats, but as adult cats. So I was not even having the experience of kittens. So that was the longest time that I've had pets of any kind as an adult was two cats for a long time. Not long before then, though, I did I did have a housemate who had a puppy, and the puppy was a golden retriever, and it was interesting. This was definitely a puppy that was acquired while very young. So the puppy was very playful at first and was was a lot of fun to have around, and that was definitely at first. But obviously, a puppy grows, and at a certain point, puppy seemed to start teething, and for whatever reason, the puppy would often get into wrestling matches with me, and it seemed that the puppy seemed to feel that my arm was the best the best device available to practice his teething on. So sometimes this puppy would be gentle, but once in a while, I don't think it was malicious, but once in a while his teething would be enough that there would be a little bit of blood raised. Now again, I didn't like that, but I really think it was just a puppy being a little bit rambunctious, but just a little too rambunctious. So that was my experience. I did have to discourage that kind of behavior, but again, it was just a puppy growing and getting used to having teeth and that kind of thing. Back to you, Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, David.
Okay,
Just before the meeting started, there was a part of a documentary on her talking about the wolves and the dogs. And of course, all the dogs are evolved from wolves. So it's a good thing they stay puppies for a while and don't totally go back to their origins as wolves. And in fact, they even say we wouldn't have evolved the way we have if the wolves and the dogs hadn't helped us along the way. So, Janet, can you rambunctiously fill us in about some puppies?
yes, I'm ready now. I have seen a couple of puppies recently. One was a cousin's wife's puppy, and another was a sister-in-law's puppy. And my last puppy I was seeing was an employee at one of the bookstores where I have a book signing. And the last one, the little puppy was so rambunctious and loving, just wanted you to pet it, and he let him lick you, just all excited and everything. So I did do a little research on puppies the other day, and they said it takes 24/7 care for puppies.
Okay, thank you, Janet.
That should be the last one, Joe.
Okay.
That one.
Elizabeth, would you like to I see you've been trained as an officer by your numbers next to your name.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Would you care to puppyize us?
Sure. Puppies, they grow up so fast. But one story that kind of comes to mind, it's not really funny. It's just different. That one puppy I got when I had two dogs. One was very old and she was blind, and she tended to go around in circles. Her name was Holly, and I had a puppy named Keeper. And I went out to get the mail one day, and I thought, well, they won't run away because the puppy couldn't move she was really little, and the old dog couldn't get around too fast. But amazingly, they disappeared. The older dog went around the house, and the little dog followed her. And we looked all over, and I finally found them. They had gone down the hill to the creek. and we're a few houses down. And Holly, the old dog, was right in the creek, but Keeper, she followed, but she knew better than to get in the water. So that was a little story.
Okay, thank you. By the way, while you were all talking, it occurred to me, I do have a pair of puppies. They're up in my attic somewhere. It's a beautiful photo of a couple of very lovable, probably sibling puppies. And haven't found a place to put it on my wall yet since I keep moving my stuff around and everything else. But yeah, those are one of my treasured, the closest thing to a personal or animal alternate resident in my property. Anyway, so I like having those little flying puppies around. Thank you. Back to Toastmaster.
Thank you. Now it's time for our speeches. And since Veronica, you're the first evaluator. Do you have the introduction for, oh, your first evaluator, and I didn't notice that.
I'm sorry, I am the speaker and David Ash is my evaluator.
Oh, that's right. Got changed. David, do
Yeah,
you
and
have the
then-
introduction?
Yes.
I thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I have the honor today of introducing Veronica. Veronica is a long time Toastmaster and a former president of our club. And she has definitely been a strong leader within our club. And today she is going to talk about reflecting on the engaging humor path. Reflecting on the engaging humor path, this is definitely an interesting topic for me as a Toastmaster. I find that public speaking is something that makes me a bit nervous. I'm getting past that, but engaging humor is something that makes me even more nervous than an ordinary speech. So I'm especially interested in learning from Veronica and perhaps becoming a little less nervous about engaging humor. So, about Veronica Sanford, why be funny? Why be funny? Veronica Sanford.
Thank you so much, David. Why be funny? Why not be serious all the time? Well, as rambunctious as it may be, and possibly socially inappropriate, I recommend humor in almost every situation. Today, I'm going to be talking about what I've learned in the effective humorous speaking path. And I will say that I will cover first assessing my skills. What did I learn, not only on this path, but also throughout my career, my lifetime in Toastmasters, which has been about 20 years. Also, all the growth that I've had within Toastmasters in my personal life and in my professional life, particularly associated with Toastmasters. And then also the impact it's had on my life, my next steps, and my goals. I will quickly tell you a story where my sister, who was never really reconciled with my father after the divorce in my family, at the funeral, she told a joke. Now, what made this joke even funnier was that my father's fourth wife, not simultaneous, had married a woman from Nicaragua. Now, most of her family did not speak English. And so the people who were in attendance at the funeral were Spanish speaking only. My sister got up. My father was Irish, by the way, and on both sides of his family. And she got up and she told an Irish joke. And the Irish joke went like this. Now, remember, my sister had not quite reconciled with my father for the divorce. Paddy and Ian were at the bar. You know, normal night. And then they're walking home from the bar as, as every good citizen should do rather than driving. And Patty turns to Ian and he says, Ian, those fellows at the bar, they were talking smack about you. Ian said, what did they say? What did they say, Patty? Said, huh, they said you weren't fit to eat with the dogs. And I defended you. I said you were. On the drive home, I said to my sister, Kathy, I don't think that the audience quite got that because they were not English speakers. And she was speaking it in a heavier Irish accent than I did. And she said, I know, and that's what made it so funny. Dad never cared if you understood his jokes or not. Humor lightens the load. Humor helps with empathy. Humor brings joy in life. And humor makes us, I think maybe the best of humor makes us accept ourselves and others just a little bit more, just a little bit more. There are many situations when humor may not be appropriate. Funerals, in my opinion, it's okay. So I will go on. I will say that I started Toastmasters in 2005 at Fountain Square at Fifth Third Bank downtown, and I was one of the founding members there. And I was very, very grateful for the two people who had been or mentors of the club. And I believe my first officer role was VP of membership. And I really took it seriously. Because it was a corporate club, I was able to call all the members and find out what their goals were for the year and then plot out, well, if you want to get at the time your competent communicator 10 speeches done this year, well, that would be great because then it could go in your performance appraisal and et cetera, especially if you want to get into management. But that would mean that you would need to give one a month. And so then we would plot out every speech for the whole year, with enough leeway there that in case they miss 1 month, they could pick it up the next. And same thing with the leadership path. At the time, there was a communication path and a leadership path. And we had the VPs at at Fifth Third, who were speaking up Toastmasters and would even come to our open houses and speak at the open house about the importance of public speaking. So truthfully, corporate clubs really have an advantage in terms of membership growth because, of course, the membership fees, which are really, really minimal, $60 every 6 months, $10, way less than a cup of coffee outside your house every day. They were paid by the corporation. So I took on many, many, many different roles throughout my beginning path of Toastmasters, including becoming area governor at the time. That's what it's called. Now it's called district. Now it's called area director. But I was the area governor for 5 clubs, and I became a member of every single one of those clubs because we wanted to up our membership. Can't necessarily do that now. But then I gave speeches at all of those clubs. I gave speeches anywhere that they would have me. And I received, I believe it was at least 3 competent communicators. And I moved up the path to become an advanced communicator silver and an advanced leader bronze. And since that time, when we started on the new pathway program, I've given more and more speeches. I still give speeches at other clubs. And it really does help me progress and become comfortable speaking in front of strangers that I don't even know. Getting back to humor, I will say that because of my voice, I was asked, that is my ability to talk a lot to a lot of different people. I was asked to do the invocation at a division conference. Well, they were very foolish in asking me because my invocation became a 5 to 7 minute speech all about the wonders of how big God is, just based upon how many stars there are and how many galaxies. And I had a lot of fun. And then I realized afterwards that they were not happy with me at all, the leaders of the conference, of course. But I will say that over time, I have become much more comfortable with speaking in public, with defending my point of view, not in a rambunctious way, but in a calm, measured manner that will hopefully encourage the other person to see a different point of view. I will also say that TV Toastmasters has had scheduled 2 different debates. I hope we will do another one. The debating path, which is not part of our formal Toastmasters education, but one that I hope we will take up again, really does help you gather your arguments in a very concise way, regardless of which point of view you take. Now, turning over now to Toastmasters growth. I alluded to it somewhat, but I would say that I do still have a lot of nervous energy. I prefer to call it excitement, that I am excited about the speeches that I'm going to give or the speech that I'm going to give. And I had heard a quote, I believe it was attributed to Maya Angelou, who said that people will never remember what you said. They never remember the words or the fact that you were jingling your coins in your pocket, but they will remember how you made them feel. And if you make them feel, this part is not part of the quote, but if you make them feel stupid or small or offend them in some way, they will never forgive you. They will never forget. So in my mind, calming myself down, sometimes even running in place before my speech, just to burn off that extra energy really did help. I will say that when I started, when we're talking about Toastmasters growth and Toastmasters growth with regard to my personal life, I have become much more confident and comfortable listening to people who disagree with me completely, particularly about politics, because I am able to listen to them and listen to them and listen to them, and then perhaps bring up my point of view in a way that might not move their point of view, but express why I feel the way that I feel and why I think the way that I think. In my professional life, I will only say that I am very comfortable speaking in front of CEOs, DIOs, the C-suite, the cleaning crew. It doesn't matter. Everyone that I meet, usually I can find common ground. In terms of impact, next steps, and goals, I did write a book. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend reading my book. I recommend writing the book. I will say that it deserves a second edition just to clean up some of the minor typos, etc. But I will say that it did impact my ability to speak about my book, and I don't have to repeat all the stories in that book over and over and over again, which was really the whole point of that book. I am in the process of writing another book, which might have a little bit more impact. Just in conclusion, I will highly, highly, highly recommend both Toastmasters and also the Humorous Path. Thank you.
Ron, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
I'm busy writing down time here. And we'll I'll set a minute here so that the evaluator has a little more time for the evaluation. So we'll have 1 minute of silence. One of the issues with doing more than one role, sometimes they conflict with each other. Okay, the 1 minute is up. David, did you need any more time for your evaluation?
No, I'm ready. I believe we'll move on to the next speech for now, so right?
Okay. Now, I don't remember, do we do the evaluation now or do we have the second speech first?
Second speech.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Joy. So I will turn to Janet to give the introduction for Joy.
Please help me welcome Joy Harris, who is speaking today for 5 to 7 minutes from the Dynamic Leadership Pathway. Having held many leadership roles during her career, she comes to us as a team builder, bringing wisdom from leaders and followers on a successful business team. Let's welcome Joy Harris, lead or follow Joy Harris.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet. I am Joy Harris, and I'd like to share with you some experiences about my experience with being a leader and a follower. I recently had a project where I got to use my skills of being a great communicator. I went to a project very recently where the scope was already defined. This is what we want you to do. And these are the programmers and the developers, and these are the analysts and the coordinators and the specialists on your project. And they gave me a list of 125 people to be on my project. So at my first meeting, I invited 125 people and 109 showed up. So to be a good communicator, I realized that I was going to have to use the power of email to communicate with each subgroup that made up that large group with only the information that they needed or that they wanted. So I didn't bombard their email with things that were not pertaining to their area. So I developed small groups and incorporated one-on-one communication with that many people to make sure that I was a good communicator on all levels. Now, it's also important to lead by example. So it's really not hard to understand that words and actions matter. When you are the leader, people want to hear what you have to say, and they want to follow what you do. So that's not a surprise, but body language, and many of our meetings in the huge organizations are visual or audio only. So in an audio only meeting, you really have to use your vocal variety to get your point across or to emphasize something, to show people really how important it is for the point you're trying to stress. Now, another quality of a good leader is to show optimism this might be the one that challenges me the most. I do expect positive outcomes. However, many times a team member will come to you with a good idea and something that they would like to add into the project. Well, that is called gold plating the project. So if it wasn't something in the original budget and in the original timeline, many times you have to make the firm decision to say, no, it might sound like a good idea, but our timeline cannot be changed. Say, for example, the federal government, by 1/1 of the next year, you will be doing it this way. You have to implement some things that have a hard and fast deadline. So you need to make firm decisions and sometimes tell people that is not the way we're going to do it. However, it's also important to keep an open mind. You have to listen to the ideas to be able to evaluate them. And many times you'll want to incorporate those ideas if it's appropriate. So you have to decide when a developer, for example, says, well, it's only going to take me 8 hours to get that done. And maybe a one day or 2 4-hour stints, I can add this extra value into this project. However, those 8 hours have a downstream ripple effect. The test plan needs to be modified. Testers need to step up to test any new functionality. And maybe the whole implementing this is less than 40 hours. So I'll take it up to management and I'll see if I can get the budget or any wiggle room in the timeline to be able to incorporate your great idea. And that gives confidence to the team member that you are willing to go forward if you believe their idea has merit, and if it can be done within budget and timeline. But you want to be able to know that they are participating and they're contributing to the project. So it's always important to listen to them with an open mind. Now, showing your personal integrity is so important. I have found that I've never been asked to do anything unethical. I've never been asked to falsify records or to cut corners or anything like that. So I've had no trouble following the guidelines of my management by trusting in them and thereby trusting in the team that they will do what they're going to do with a high level of integrity and a high level of confidence and quality. So that fosters teamwork principles. Now, another quality is being a follower, because in a meeting where 125 people show up, you can have other managers and directors show up. Depending on the corporate environment, you can even have vice presidents showing up to your meetings. But what I found out is they're not there to intimidate you or to tell you that they know the best way and they don't interrupt your meeting. Sometimes they're there to support the team members that they put on your team in their organization. And maybe a programmer or a tester is going to be called on explaining something, and it gives them an opportunity to take a team leader role on your project, and their manager shows up just to support them. So I think the key takeaway here is that being a leader is so important, but it's also important to be a follower. When I attend another manager's meeting, it might be to learn more about their timeline, or it might be to learn their dependency with my project. So I understand that when I go to their meeting, I'm not there to be rambunctious or to try to have any control issues on their project. I go and I be respectful of them as a manager, because I know the importance of being a leader and a follower. I think teamwork is the key to successful teams. So thank you for listening, everyone. This has been Joy Harris from Joy Can Help. Thank you so much.
Okay, now we'll have another minute of silence for the evaluator to finish up their evaluation.
I'm okay.
Okay. Now we're in the evaluation portion of the meeting, so I will call on Joy again as our general evaluator to introduce our speech evaluators and get that part of the meeting started. Joy, if you would.
All right, great. Thank you. This has been a great meeting so far. So let's go into the evaluation of speaker one. And David, are you ready with your evaluation of speaker one?
Thank you, Madam President and Madam General Evaluator. Yes, I am. So I do have the honor of evaluating Veronica's speech. And Veronica's speech was Why Be Funny? And obviously it's a topic that interests us. And Veronica did grab our attention early on with a good opening. What I like about an opening, I like an opening which lays things out well early on. I don't personally, I don't do as well with a speech where I'm confused about what the speaker's message is. I want to know what the speaker's agenda is from the beginning. And Veronica gave us that. She said she recommended humor in all situations. And I think was consistent in that throughout the speech. So so that was a great opening, and I like that. Veronica was definitely very excited about her topic. One thing I thought Veronica did especially well is she led by example. We had another speaker today who talked about leading by example, but I thought Veronica did a great job leading by example. She was talking about why be funny, of talking about recommending humor in all speeches, in all situations, in fact. And at one point, she actually told a joke, or she retold a joke that someone else had told, and that shows that, especially for those of us who are especially nervous about telling jokes in public, she was leading by example. And that did have an effect, I think, on the audience. That was very good leadership there. Some things maybe I might recommend Veronica work a little bit on. This one was something that I felt was good at the not so good at the beginning, but better as time went on. So hand gestures, and I'm not doing it much myself, but we do need to watch our hand gestures, that we do get, if we make a point, make sure our hands are visible. Early on, I could not see Veronica's hands, so I didn't really get a sense on that. Later on, the hand gestures improved a lot. So that's one thing I'd recommend. One other thing I liked, Veronica used the phrase, "I did write a book" at one point. Now, I don't know if this was intentional. That it happens that that's an important line from the movie Barbie, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it marks an important transition point in the movie. I don't know if it was Veronica's intent to mark it as a transition point in her speech, but I think that if that was, it was very effective. And it did catch my attention, because even though Veronica said she wasn't recommending it, it still said, okay, Veronica's a bit of an expert here. So that caught my attention. I thought great use of words there. I'd recommend just a bit more connection between the giving speeches and the value of humor. Veronica talked a lot about giving speeches, how she'd given effective speeches, maybe didn't talk as much about how humor played a role in those speeches. However, Veronica definitely summed things up very well in the conclusion, brought it back to her original point about always using humor in virtually all situations. So great speech, and I am now myself out of time. So back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you, David. So we're ready for the next evaluation. And if you could not be too rambunctious on your evaluation, Janet, I'll introduce Janet to give her evaluation of speech number 2.
Oh, Joy, you should ask me to be rambunctious because it's hard for me to be rambunctious being a more timid person. Oh, let's see. Well, Joy gave an excellent speech. Oh, I have to mention right off, I like the way you had your picture of yourself on the share screen with your PowerPoint words. So we could actually see you talking and saw your hand motions. So that was excellent. You'll have to teach all of us how to do that. And you always speak with seriousness, integrity, and honesty. And I like how you share information in a way that we can all grasp and learn from. A couple things I wanted to point out. One time, well, no, twice actually, you had a little knicker cough or something like that. And I think you were, I thought maybe you were doing it on purpose. I'm sure you can look at the video and see, but it was kind of like what people do when you don't quite believe something. It's a little bit humorous, but you had it in just the right points that you were letting us know about your kind of thinking something was a little bit humorous. So you had a couple of snicker coughs in there, Carl. And also, just because I know you're working on sharing your experiences and stories and everything, you did an excellent job of sharing about how you were a project manager and how everything came out. And maybe if you could just tell us a little puppy story, something humorous that's happened in your life or someone else's life, or just something to break up the seriousness of the speech. So those, just a little suggestion. And just thank you so much for teaching us the importance of being both a leader and a follower. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet. All right. I think we're going to get the word counter and the grammarian report right now. So Janet, is that you as well?
Yeah. We were all rambunctious with the word of the day today. And it was used by Veronica at least twice, Ron at least twice, Joe used rambunctious at least 3 times, and he also used frolicking and boisterous a couple more times. David Ash used rambunctious a couple times, and I like the way Joy worked the word into her speech. So kudos to everyone on using the word rambunctious. Let's see. As far as something interesting, special that I liked was when Joe asked Elizabeth, right, you're in the first name, Elizabeth, to puppy size us. I thought that was cute, point of language. And let's see, as far as Oz and filler words, David Ash had a couple Oz when he was introducing Veronica. Let's see, Veronica had one and one what we call a double clutch. When you repeat something, you said I alluded to, and it's a repeat that it's not for emphasis, it's just a little stumble. So just a couple little things in your speech, but overall, I enjoyed being grammarian today, and I'll give it back to our general evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I love the opportunity to get feedback on our speeches. That's an integral part of our Toastmaster Club meeting. So let's get a report from the timer.
Everybody did very well, stayed within the limits as required for each one of the different roles. Veronica, as speaker one, had 10 to 12 minutes. She did her speech in 11 minutes, 29 seconds. Joy was supposed to do 5 to 7 minutes with her speech. She did it a little bit over 7 minutes, 23 seconds, but still within the 30-second leeway. My table topic speech went right at a minute. Janet, you were a little bit under. You were at 47 seconds when we had 1 to 2 minutes. Dave, 1 to 2 minutes, did it at 1 minute, 47 seconds. Elizabeth did hers right smack on the button of 1 minute, so did well there. David Ash, for his evaluation, supposed to be 2 to 3 minutes. He did it in 3 minutes, 21 seconds. So again, within the 30-second leeway. And then Janet did her speech in 2 minutes, 40 seconds. So stayed within the 2 to 3 minutes there. And that is my report, Madam Evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, just to sum up, I thought we had great speeches today and great table topics, great opportunities to stay within the timeline for the most part. And we had evaluations that help us grow. And that's what I really like about our Toastmaster Club. So I would like to wrap up the evaluations. We'll have hopefully a minute or two to talk at the very end. But Ron, I'm going to turn it back over to the Toastmaster of the day and see what kind of comments you have about today's meeting.
Well, have a couple more bits of humor. Why is it called a litter of puppies? Because they'll trash the place. Why was the dog not a smooth talker? And it wasn't because he wasn't a Toastmaster. It was because all he ever said was rough, rough. And that's my jokes for the puppy jokes. I enjoyed the meeting today, and unfortunately, today is my last day as an official TV Toastmasters member. I'm not signing up for another 6 months, but I will visit from time to time and see if there's any way I can help. Other than that, that is my report for today, and back to our president.
Well, Ron, we really have enjoyed all the times that you were president and all of the various roles that you have played on our meetings. And I really look forward to you coming back as a guest. That's going to be very important. So the only puppy story I have, you all have taken my puns and my little grins that I do, but my son had, his German Shepherd had 4 puppies, and they said, no, let us know if you want one. Let us know if you want one. Well, we waited a while. We'd never seen these. They live far away. And we said, no, we decided we can't take a puppy. Well, they only had 4 in the litter, and they decided to keep one. And the one they were holding out for us was getting older and older. And it was time to come up to Cincinnati for a family gathering. And they said, we're going to have to bring both puppies because we haven't gotten rid of the one we saved for you. Well, that was a mistake, because once you've seen the puppy that was for you, it was almost 3 months old, and we took it. And her name was Kalua. And we had a puppy, which I understand German Shepherds are puppies for the whole first year, or maybe the first 2 years. So she wasn't really that rambunctious, but she was a German Shepherd, and she was a great puppy and a great dog. I enjoyed our dog Kalua quite a bit. Well, I think according to the clock on the wall, we started on time and we're going to end on time. So I'm going to turn off the recording and thank you everyone for joining us today. I appreciate that very much. Thank you all.